everybody. Welcome to the Oldish. I'm so happy to have you back here again. My name is Karen. As always, I am your host, and today I want to talk about how you're feeling. Are you feeling a bit off? Can't quite figure out why. We're used to shopping differently, washing our hands a lot, wearing a mask, but we're not socializing the same way. You may have gone back to work or getting ready to go back to work, but it's not going to be the same. A walk outside used to be refreshing, but now it's a game of dodge 'em. Oh my God, all these people. Who's going to move? Why aren't they moving? Should I move? Holy cow. So many people. Who's in my bubble? Can I go to church? Should I go to church? You get the drift. Life is very different. It may never be the way that we were used to. So why are you feeling the way you're feeling? If you kind of got your head wrapped around that, are you feeling a bit of a malaise? Not sure about anything anymore, not sure where we're headed? Are things going to get better? Or are they going to get worse? Are we safe? I think that's the biggest thing on people's mind is whether or not they are safe in any given situation. I often hear, treat everyone like they're infected. Well, how scary is that? It's really frightening. Today's topic was inspired by a few people that I have seen writing or doing videos on topics like this. A social worker who is seeing more desperation in her clients, a teacher who's preparing to welcome students back to a very different looking classroom, and a comedian who was having difficulty finding things to be funny about given the world situation. I'm not talking about politics. This particular comedian is facing a world that is unlike anything that we have ever seen, which is what we're all facing. This entire world, for the first time ever, we are experiencing exactly the same thing at the same time, no matter where you live in the world. It's very challenging. You know what we're feeling? Do you know what you're feeling? It's grief. We're feeling grief. We usually think of grief as something we feel when someone passes. In this case, it's our life that isn't the same as it ever was before and may never be again. Grief because we can't live our lives the way that we used to. Grief because we can't see our friends anymore in the same way. We can't go to the cottage. We can't go out and share dinner. Grief because we haven't been able to travel. We have friends in faraway places that we haven't been able to see. Maybe we've had trips planned to celebrate a retirement, a 40th anniversary, or just a family get-together. And we haven't been able to do that. And who knows when we are going to be able to do that ever again. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, many, many years ago, defined the 5 stages of grief. This applies to our situation now. Denial. This can't be happening. And yet it is. Anger. Why is this happening? Whose fault is it? Who's to blame? Bargaining. Make this not happen, and I'll do this. And that may be something that people who are actually ill with COVID are feeling. Depression. I'm too sad to do anything. Acceptance. I'm not sure any of us have gotten here yet, but I'm at peace with what happened. I don't know. I'm not there. Are you? The emotional symptoms of grief are something that we need to be aware of. Shock and disbelief. Right after a loss, it's hard to accept what has happened. So this is the loss of our life now we're talking about, the loss of our lifestyle. And you may even feel a bit numb or want to deny the truth. Sadness. Profound sadness is probably the most universally experienced feeling. You may feel emptiness, despair, yearning, or deep loneliness. You might feel emotionally unstable. You might even cry a lot. Guilt. You may regret saying or doing something, or not saying or doing something. Anger. You need to blame someone for this injustice that has been thrust upon you and your family and your lifestyle. Fear. This is a big emotion. It can trigger a lot of things. You may feel anxious, helpless, or insecure. You may even have panic attacks. And I know of a lot of people who have written on Facebook, for instance, that they've had panic attacks. For those of us who live alone, the responsibility of doing everything, or certainly more things alone because people can't come and help you, may be overwhelming. As we move into September, our lives traditionally turn to establishing a routine again around work, meetings, volunteering, even social life. We start thinking about the holidays. For those of us on this side of the pond, Thanksgiving, Eid is coming, Christmas is coming, the new year. Who's going to be glad to see the end of 2020? Yeah, me. It's important to be aware of the variety of emotions that we feel as we think about and prepare for these celebrations, because most of the time, for most of us, we're doing them with family. And I know that we as my family have talked about this. In fact, on our show last week, we talked about doing your shopping early, just in case. You know, there has never been a pandemic without a second wave. This is converging with flu season and students going back to school, and it's sort of the perfect storm that sets up what could be a series of major setbacks for us, no matter where we live in this world. We don't know what's coming. We don't know what to prepare for. My family has talked about how we should prepare, what we should prepare, and we just don't know, because the situation in our region, in our country, in the world can change things on a dime. If those case numbers start to go up, we could be in lockdown again, and then Thanksgiving won't matter. I have one daughter and son-in-law who work in management in grocery retail, and they're around all kinds of people all day long. And what that makes my daughter feel is a reluctance to be anywhere near me because I'm in that age group. And she doesn't want to infect me with anything. She doesn't want to be a carrier. It makes it very difficult to know if or how we can plan holidays. There's just so much unknown. But I need you to be on the lookout for physical symptoms of grief. I want you to be aware of these things in yourself and in those around you that you do see. So watch out for things like fatigue, nausea, lowered immunity, weight gain or weight loss that seems a bit too extreme, aches and pains that aren't normally there, insomnia. Keep an eye out for those things. When grief moves into depression, watch out for intense, pervasive senses of guilt, thoughts of suicide or a preoccupation with dying, slow speech and body movements, the inability to function well at work, at school, or at home, seeing or hearing things that aren't there. Now, I know that for some of you, these symptoms of depression may seem a bit too extreme, but for some people who are already prone to be on the sad side, it can be not a very big distance to get them into depression when life is not the kind of routine that they anticipate or are used to. So what can we do? Face our feelings, and the sooner you do that, the better. If you get to know yourself really well, as I hope most people of our age do, you should recognize when things aren't quite feeling the same. And if they're not feeling the same for a day or two, that's very different than if we're not feeling the same for a week or two. Face those feelings that you're having. Express them as best you can. For some people, that means journaling. For others, it means talking to their partner or jumping on Zoom or FaceTime with a friend. For others, it can mean picking up the phone and calling somebody who is a counselor. Try to maintain your hobbies or start some new ones. I don't know if you'd call it a hobby, but over the shoulder, you see this KitchenAid here. I've started making bread. I haven't bought a loaf of bread in ages, and I find great satisfaction every few days in making a loaf of bread, and the actions of going through it, and then the satisfaction of eating it in the days ahead. It's a small thing, but the small things can really matter. Don't let anyone tell you how you should feel. That's really important. Do not let anyone describe your emotions or tell you what you should be feeling in any kind of circumstance. Plan ahead for things that trigger you. For instance, crowds. Crowds may trigger you because you have to treat everyone like they're infected. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But as an example, crowds. Call the grocery store. Ask them when their low traffic times are so that you can plan to do your shopping in a low traffic time. It's just planning for the things that trigger you and planning for strategies to cope if you are triggered. Look after your physical health. Try to eat well. If you're not on a good diet now, try to get there. I know I've been eating more fruits and vegetables since this whole thing started, and it makes me feel like I'm looking after myself better. Exercise is good too. My other daughter, who is not in retail, she and I go for a 5K walk every morning with her dog, and we go through a nature preserve and, listening to the birds and watching for wild turkeys. There's a fox in the nature, well, I think a den of fox in the nature preserve. We haven't seen them yet, but we frequently run into people who have. So we keep our eyes open for the wildlife in the preserve. And it's just a different feeling to be able to get out in the fresh air and to move your body. I think that matters. If you can't get out and walk, then jump on YouTube and find some exercise videos that make you happy, whether it's yoga or Tai Chi or something a little bit more aerobic and active. Get yourself a skipping rope and go down to the basement or out in your garage or out on your front lawn. Who knows? It doesn't matter. Move your body. Moving your body gets those endorphins moving that help you to feel better about yourself and about the world around you. So, seek help early, plan the strategies that will help you feel better, and it will help you cope with what's ahead because we don't know what's ahead. We think we do, but I think if any of us have learned anything about this pandemic, it's that we don't know what the next few days, weeks, or months will bring. So it's important to look after yourself. Recognize grief, deal with it, and we'll all be fine. Fingers crossed. Take care of yourselves until next Wednesday at 12 noon when I will see you again. Until then, take care of yourselves. Really take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. And remember that it takes a village to age a senior. Bye, everybody.